All right, heavyweights up next here as we have the return of Tanner Boser, who comes in at plus 135. He welcomes former Bellator fighter Gokhan Saricam, who comes in at minus 155. Now, starting off on the Boser side of things, he's on a 2-fight winning streak. The first of those was actually in the UFC, where he had a very grueling and tough, successful performance against was it Alex Kamor? I believe the guy's name was Alexa Kamor. That was a fight where it was his second fight at light heavyweight. He was able to really muster up success in the clinch against Kamor, break off, throw a bunch of combinations, and then re-engage in the clinch. It really looked like Kamor was struggling to have any success of his own because Boser was just staying on the pressure, staying on the pace, and causing a ton of issues for the younger fighter. Unfortunately, the UFC decided not to bring Boser back. They let his contract expire, and he just sat on the sidelines. He took 2 years away from action before returning to the heavyweight division, where he took on former UFC fighter Vinicius Moreira, and he was able to finish him in the second round after showcasing some pretty good takedown defense. He did get taken down in the first round, but he showcased great scrambles, great defense, and then eventually finishing that first round by landing nasty ground and pound as Vinicius Moreira was trying to lock up a heel hook. In the second round, it was clear that Moreira had burned out his gas tank in that first round, and it took till the third round for Boser to finally muster up a barrage of shots to get that finish over the Brazilian. So solid return to action for Boser there, who's still only 34 years old, considering how long he's been around in the game. You know, this will be his 34th professional MMA fight. He's very experienced. He's fought a ton of Russians back in the day as well. Solid striker, sets a good pace. Grappling is often where opponents have gotten the better of him, but he's clearly working on that side of his game, so he's not muzzled on the ground as often as we've seen in the past. But I wonder what his commitment is to the game, considering he isn't all that active as of late. Now, he's going up against Gokhan Saricam, who is on a 3-fight winning streak. He went 5-2 with Bellator, with his only losses coming against Steve Mowry and Oleg Popov. In the Popov fight, he was really struggling to get away from the clinch and the takedowns of Popov. That led to him losing a decision, but he managed to come back with a pretty big and dominant performance against Daniel James. He was able to constantly take the power puncher to the ground and showcase that he is becoming a well-rounded mixed martial artist. At his core, Saricam is more of a kickboxer. Very good combinations, good leg kicks, good just combinations, sticks and moves very well, has a great gas tank for a heavyweight fighter as well. And once I saw that he was signed to the UFC, I was very happy because he's a solid addition. Now, he might not be a guy that goes out there and fights for a title, but he is a guy that's going to go out there and be very competitive with a lot of the UFC heavyweights. He's on a 3-fight winning streak now, both of his last 2 wins being first-round finishes, one of them being against a former LFA title challenger, I believe it was. But he did a great job in terms of stopping the takedowns, getting off on his own offense, getting the takedown, and then eventually getting a TKO win of his own. He's very experienced. He's very experienced against good competition. He beat some solid opponents even on the Bellator scene, and now I like that he's finally getting over to the UFC. Now here against Tanner Boser, I thought I'd have more confidence on the Saricam side, but what gives me some pause is if this primarily takes place in the striking realm, which I believe it will. I think we'll see Saricam look for the takedown, but I think Boser will defend it well enough to constantly work back to his feet or keep Saricam away from actually accruing some top time. It's the pace, it's the volume, it's the grindy nature of Boser's game that gives me some issues here in terms of the confidence on the Saricam side. I still believe Saricam is the cleaner striker. I think he's the better striker, and ultimately I think he'll be able to land better volume here, and I think it eventually leads to him eventually getting that knockout victory. But it's going to be tough considering the pace and pressure coming back his way from Boser. So if you like the Canadian, I understand. I get why. You know, that pace and pressure is going to be tough to deal with. But I expect Saricam to counter that with power, with slicker striking, and then eventually find that big shot to put Boser away. So I'm going to go Saricam here as my prediction, and I think he wins by knockout.